kingdom by the sea lived a young prince, sad and lonely, under enchantment of magic mystery, to be set free by one only.
Weary he waited while years sped along. Came then a maid pure and holy.
Love broke the spell, so the storybooks tell.
And he made at her feet this song.
A certain king had a daughter who was beautiful beyond dreams, but so extremely proud and haughty that no suitor was good enough for her. She not only refused to marry every man who came to her, but she also poked fun at them. The king was anxious to get the girl married before her bad manners became so widely known that no man would have her. So he held a feast and invited all the marriageable young men from far and near. When they arrived, they all stood in a row according to their rank. First stood the kings, then the princes, the dukes, the earls, and last of all, the knights. Then the king's daughter was led down the rows, but she found something wrong with each man. One was too fat,
Old wine tub.
said she. Another was too tall.
You make a better fishing pole than a husband.
She giggled. A third was too short.
Half a man.
She teased him. And so she went on nicknaming every one of the suitors. She made particularly merry with a young king on whose chin a mere wisp of a beard had just begun to grow. Laughed she.
He has a beard like a thrush's beak.
And after that day he went by the name of Thrushbeard. However, when the old king saw his daughter making fun of all the suitors, he became very angry, and he swore that she would marry the first decent beggar who came to the gate. A few days after this, a musician came beneath the windows to sing and so earn a few pennies.
Oh, sweet Rosemary, it's easy to see why your whole land to know you love you. You're gentle and kind, divinely designed, as graceful as the pines above you.
When he had finished, he bowed low and said,
"A few pennies, your majesty, if my song pleases."
The king said,
Your song pleases me so much that I shall give you my daughter for a wife.
The princess was terribly angry and stormed and wept, but all her tears and temper were in vain, and the princess was married to the beggar musician. When the ceremony was finished, the king said,
I cannot allow a beggar and his wife to remain in my palace, so be off, the both of you.
The beggar led the princess away, and she was forced to trudge along with him on foot. As they came to a large forest, she asked,
To whom does this beautiful forest belong?
An echo replied,
To King Thrushbeard the true. Were you his bride, you'd rule it too. Ah, how silly I was. What a life would have been mine had I but married King Thrushbeard.
Next, they came to a meadow, and she asked,
To whom belongs this green meadow?
and the echo answered as before,
To King Thrushbeard the true. Were you his bride, you'd rule it too.
Then they came to a great city, and she asked,
To whom does this town belong?
and the echo answered as before,
Ah, what a simpleton I was. Why didn't I marry him when I had the chance?
Fie!
exclaimed the beggar.
Shame on you for always wishing for another husband. Am I not good enough for you?
Finally, they came to a very small hut, and the princess said,
Ah, mercy! To whom can this miserable hovel belong?
The beggar replied,
Why, that is my house.
Where are the servants?
Servants, you must do all the work here.
The princess knew nothing about making fires or cooking, and so the beggar had to set to work himself. For a few days they lived this way. Then the husband said,
Wife, we can no longer go on without earning a penny. You must weave some baskets.
He brought her some willows, but when she tried to make them into baskets, the twigs cut her hands and made them bleed.
I see that won't do. You had better try spinning.
The princess went to spinning, but the harsh thread cut her tender fingers so that they bled.
Whackaday! You can't do a thing, can you? I made a bad bargain in taking you. Now I must try to make a living by selling earthen jars and dishes. You will sit in the market and sell them.
The first time she went to market, all went well, for the people bought the princess's wares because she was so pretty. On her earnings, the beggar and she lived for some time. When the money was gone, her husband bought a fresh stock of dishes, and with these she again went to the market and took a stall at the corner. Suddenly, a drunken soldier came plunging down the street, right into the midst of her dishes, shattering them into 1,000 pieces.
Excuse me. That's so
When she told her husband what had happened, he scolded her, and he said,
Whoever would have thought of sitting at an open corner to sell dishes? I see that you are not fit for any ordinary work. Ah, but stop crying. I have been to the king's palace, and they have agreed to take you as a kitchen maid. There you can get your own food, and bring me some as well.
And so the princess became a kitchen maid. She was obliged to fetch and carry as the cook bade her, and scour dirty pots and pans. She kept a jar in each of her pockets, and put into them whatever food was left from the king's table. On this, she and her husband made their meals. She soon got over her pride and haughtiness, and became meek and good-tempered. About this time, she heard that the king was to be married, and she begged the cook to let her watch the celebration. The cook consented, and the kitchen maid placed herself near the door of the ballroom. When she saw all the guests in their fine clothes, she thought how she might have been among them if only she had not been so proud and haughty. Presently, the king entered, and as soon as he saw the beautiful kitchen maid standing at the door, he asked her to dance with him. She tried to pull away, for it was the same King Thrushbeard at whom she had laughed. As he drew her into the ballroom, the jar fell out of her pocket and crashed to the floor. The guests burst into laughter, and the poor girl was very embarrassed. She managed to free herself and run off, but King Thrushbeard soon overtook her and held her fast in his arms.
Look at me.
He said in a gentle voice.
Don't you know your own husband?
And when she stared at him wildly, he added,
Yes, King Thrushbeard and the beggar musician are the same man. I was also the soldier who broke your dishes. I did this to help you overcome your pride and haughtiness.
At these words, the princess wept bitterly. And she said,
I am not worthy to be your wife, for I have been a wicked and foolish maiden.
but he replied,
Those days are over now.
Immediately, bridesmaids came and took the princess away, bathed her in milk and sea foam, and dressed her in beautiful clothes. Then her father and his whole court arrived and wished her happiness on her wedding day. And so commenced the princess's true joy as queen of the handsome King Thrushbeard.